What's going on, everyone? Back with another episode of Stuff and Things. I snuck out of the house today. Don't worry though, I'm by myself. Social distancing. We're continuing lockdown knife week. Hopefully you guys are staying sane out there. Now we're gonna jump into the hashtag. I actually saw one yesterday that really caught my eye, so let me see if I can pull that up again. Right here we have a pretty cool photo coming from Mr. Decaffeinito. In the center there, he has a blade from Tactical Pterodactyl Knives, which is a super cool name for a company and also a wicked looking blade. It's not every day that I'm drawn to fixed blades that are that size, but it looks like a really useful knife. I love the grinds and everything on there, even the logo, and of course, the micarta handles. And of course, next to that, he also has one of the Daily Custom Shop Swiss Army knives. I also have one of those, two of them actually, so maybe if you guys want to see a video on that in the future, I can add it to the lineup. So anyway, I picked that photo today because we are of course going to be talking about a fixed blade. This one is much different than the one that you just saw, and if I had to pick just one fixed blade to kind of do everything, I want something for camping, surviving, food prep, self-defense. If I could only have absolutely one blade, I would probably pick something that is fairly large. That way I can chop with it, I could do a little bit of everything with it. I would kind of be squeezing it into some roles because of how large this blade is. However, I've had this one for a long time. It's my go-to outdoor knife and I just love it a lot. So we are of course taking a look at my ESEE 6. The ESEE 6 is a full tang fixed blade made from a high carbon 1095 steel. 1095 is still a top choice for professional tools that are designed for hard use. However, a steel like this will definitely rust and stain if you don't care for it properly. I've had this knife for a few years now, and like I said, it is my go-to outdoors knife. So it's seen mud, rain, snow, and you name it. This thing has been pretty abused when it comes to how I use knives. As long as you keep it properly lubricated and cleaned when you're done using it, then you should see no issues. The handles on this one feature a gray linen micarta, which is probably one of my favorite handle scale materials. The blade sort of has a black crinkle type of finish to it with a plain edge. And this thing did ship with an included sheath, clip plate, paracord, and cord lock. Now like I mentioned, this thing is large with a handle length of 5¼ inches, a total blade length of 6½ inches, and an overall length of 11¾ inches. So here is a closer up look at my ESEE 6, and you can definitely tell that the blade has been sharpened and sharpened again. I've batoned this thing through so many logs in the past, and you may have seen that in some previous videos, actually some like very old videos. Whatever they did to achieve that, it holds up like anything else that I've used. Now like I mentioned, this would really be my go-to knife for pretty much anything, one of those things being self-defense. This is like bordering along the line of a machete. If you use this paracord to sort of secure it around your hand and you get a grip on the very end of the handle here, you can actually swing this thing with a lot of force and use it as sort of like a chopping element. And then of course you can grip up and hold it like a normal knife if you're going to use it for some sort of self-defense. If I ever got into an altercation with someone and they pulled out something that looked like this, I would probably take a few steps back. And then you can also use the finger choil up front here to sort of choke up. It's got good jimping on the spine of the blade here, and you can do some finer work if you're maybe starting a fire and need to make some kindling. Now speaking of making a fire with this knife, one thing that you will not be able to do is use fire steel on the back of the blade here. I've seen a lot of people actually grind down the finish, that way they can strike some sparks off of the back there. That's not really something that I do. I don't put myself into survival situations. However, if I had to pick a blade to take with me to go out into the bush for an extended amount of time, it would probably be this. Now almost all of the knives in ESEE's line are similar to this. This one to me just seemed to be the best overall kind of do-it-all type of knife. It's balanced really well in the hand no matter where you're holding this thing. It is a full tang design like I mentioned, so this is something that is very confidence inspiring. And it's got a pretty thick stock to it, however it's not quite as thick as something like the ESEE 5. That one has like a bow drill hole drilled into the handles of it. It is super thick, so if you're trying to like stab into a 55-gallon drum made out of steel, I would probably rather do it with that super thick blade on that knife. However, like I said, this one is sort of a good like middle ground, do-it-all type of knife, and I love this thing. I've had it for a long time. The price on this right now is coming in at just under $140, and I've had this knife for a long time. I've definitely gotten my money's worth out of it, and it still has a ton of life left. If I were to recommend any fixed blade, this would definitely be it. But then again, if you're talking about a fixed blade that you want to carry with you every single day, then I would probably opt for something a little bit smaller like the ESEE or the Travax Trek. I actually did carry that fixed blade for a while and it was cool. But that's all besides the point. Now, this video probably wouldn't be complete if we didn't beat the shit out of this knife. So let me show you guys what this thing is still capable of today. All right guys, here we have the ESEE in its injection molded plastic sheath. It has sort of like a drop leg to it and it works decently. I do wish it was black, however, it is what it is. Now here I have some dry pieces of wood. Let's just grab the smaller one first. Now like I mentioned, since this knife is so large, you can actually use it for chopping pretty well if you are using the included paracord on the rear here. I'm sort of holding this in like a 2 or 3 finger grip on the end here, and I'm using the weight of that blade to sort of swing into branches or whatever you might need to chop. So there you guys can see a pretty sizable chunk taken out of there with little to no effort at all. Now, is this thing gonna replace an axe? No, obviously not. However, it can definitely get the job done if you want to keep things lightweight and mobile. So another thing, if you have a really dry piece of wood like this, something like this is already perfect for sort of feather sticking. If I use that finger choil to sort of choke up on the knife here, I can very easily get all of that stuff off of there. Now the blade on here could probably be touched up because this thing has really just been riding in my van and it's like my camp knife. I always have it with me. However, it does a pretty good job at creating kindling and I use this thing to start fires all the time. Now of course, another really important thing as far as fixed blades go, at least from my perspective, is batoning. So there we go. I will get that thing started by swinging it into the log, and now we'll simply beat on it. So because that blade is so long, you have a huge striking surface there, and it's super easy to split wood and just beat the hell out of. This thing is a workhorse. I love it. The grips feel great. Even in a wet environment, these will sort of like change colors, but the grip still remains the same. There's no doubt in my mind that I can continue to use and abuse this thing, and it's just gonna keep working. There's so much edge there that you can reprofile this thing and sharpen it as many times as you possibly want. And I think I'm going to end up having this knife for years and years to come. So that's really all that I had for the ESEE. If you guys have any questions about this thing, let me know in the comments down below. Again, this is gonna be one that I'm holding on to for a long time now. And because this was one of my first fixed blades, it's still lasting me and I really don't see the need to buy any others in the future. I'll of course let you guys know if that ever changes, either here or on Instagram. Speaking of Instagram, don't forget to use the hashtag #LockdownKnifeWeek to be featured in an upcoming video. Are you guys getting sick of these knife videos yet? We only got a few left, but I hope you guys are enjoying them so far. Now, if you are new to this channel, consider clicking subscribe. I make new videos every single week. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I will talk to you in the next one.